All right. So Amazon Seller Tribe, we should be live streaming now, and we have a treat for you tonight. You're probably shipping boxes or peeling stickers off, or maybe working in your kitchen, your living room, your garage, your warehouse, your basement, wherever the bulk of the work is taking place. And we've got two amazing folks on, Massive Warriors, on with Amazon Seller Tribe tonight. I want you to meet them and I want you to hear their story. And they just achieved an awesome selling level. And we're going to get to that in a minute and talk about that in a minute. But first, let's just start with who these folks are and why they're so awesome in Amazon Seller Tribe. So everybody, make welcome to the webinar tonight, Uzi, Ibrahim, and Rachel Tang Ibrahim. Now, many of you know Rachel from her photos of the children, because those children are everywhere, and those children get to go on a lot of field trips, which is pretty amazing. They're curious little creatures, aren't they? So let's just start first by telling us where you live. Tell us about your family. Introduce us to your family, Uzi and Rachel. We're happy to have you here tonight.
Right. So we're based out of DFW. We have been in Texas, specifically a small part of it called Hearst, right in the middle of DFW. We've been here since 2016. After I got out of the Army in 2016, we moved to this area. We've been in Texas since 2012. I was stationed in Fort Hood. And then after getting out, we moved here to Fort Worth. I found employment, and then Rachel started working on Amazon from there. We have 3 wonderful kids. I actually had our first child when I was still in the Army, and we had her in Singapore. We were actually separated. I actually didn't start living with Rachel and Charlie until like the final year of my time in the Army. So deployments, visas, all these different things. We didn't even start living together until I got out. So It's always been a process of learning. And then as we got out, we had our second child, and then we had our third child
Zoe.
After that. Yeah, Zoe. Yeah, she's full of personality. I have a story about her birth if you want to know that. But
oh yes, let's.
So since we're throwing it all out there,
she's got to have a story, because Zoe always has a story.
Exactly, she definitely does. So Zoe was actually born in our garage. And what I mean,
well, were you selling on Amazon at the time, Rachel, and you just couldn't stop packing boxes?
Yeah, honestly, it was right there.
Hospital. Gotta
get one more box out. We gotta get one more box out. But yeah, no, that was entertaining, because we're in the Army system. We had all of our, like, Army does everything for you. And we get out, like, all right, what do we do about health insurance? What do we do about all these different things?
Right.
And then our first child was, we induced, she was on time, everything was planned. It was boom, boom, boom. And then the second child, we didn't have those first telltale signs that happen usually the first time. So Rachel went from like contraction to labor in 30 minutes. And the midwife actually told her, you'll be fine, just wait a couple hours. As we're walking out of the house,
0 to 10. 0 to 10.
As we're walking out of the house, she's like, it's here. And I'm like, okay, adapt and overcome, we got to figure this out. I end up catching Zoe in our garage, and the midwife comes shortly after. So that's just a little bit of the Ibrahim chaos that we manage on a daily basis, in addition to trying to get this Amazon thing going. So,
oh my gosh. Well, I tell you, the story doesn't surprise me, because of the cutest things that Zoe's always doing and saying. And she's got a very big personality, guys. If you haven't seen their posts on Facebook, you have to look at them. Sometimes I just go on to just have another chuckle. There are other people in Amazon Seller Tribe who have those kind of kids too. They're like, they're big show, big show. And Zoe's big show. Now tell us about baby. Baby's just 18 months old, 15 months old.
18 months. Yeah.
18 months.
That also is what we would classify as God's plan there. So, we were like, after literally we had a conversation about a month before we found out she was pregnant. We are like, wait, 2 kids, you good? I'm good. I think we're good. Right. Next thing you know, boom, third child's on the way. And then we had to figure it out. And we
But
did a
it's
bunch
knocking
of,
on the door saying, hey, can I live here for about 18 years?
yeah, exactly. And, it was, we made some drastic life changes afterwards because we realized, for us, we've just realized that we've always been trying to get into a better position.
Right.
Ever since getting out of the Army. Like I said, everything's kind of taken care of you. It's unstable and like the lifestyle, but it's pretty stable, everything else.
Right.
So we were renting a house. We downscoped the house. We had a couple of rental properties. We sold those. We actually moved into a quadplex. So I'm just giving you a sign here. While Rachel is running Amazon, she's helping renovate this whole building, and we're
Wow.
living in one apartment now and renting out the other 3.
Okay, so he's always a business-minded person and always wanted to start a business. So he was a high earner. I mean, he's got a potential, but he's not working with me. So the plan was to save as much money as we can, but then have the conditions set up to be able to transition into running a business and being an entrepreneur, starting a business up, and still be able to, not be homeless.
Right.
That's right.
So that was 2 years ago. We made a decision 2 years ago. And
the third baby was really a catalyst of that whole thing of like, all right, how you just kind of get in complacency mode and you're like, all right, everything's comfortable. And then the third baby is like, okay, let's really think what the next 5 years look like. Let's, so
you start, there's a place where you just kind of put one foot in front of the other, but then there's another place where you start designing your life.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You're like, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want the girls to remember as they're growing up? What do I want to invest time and talent in my children right now? And we do make some hard decisions at that time. And maybe sometimes we even put ourselves in another gear that's not normal for us. Because, I'm constantly saying to my son and daughter-in-law, and they live in Kansas City, have 2 little ones. I'm like, you know what? Just remind yourself it's okay to go the pace of a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. It's just okay. This is just times and seasons, because in another blink of the eye, like I said, they'll be gone. Now, Uzi, you just kind of brushed over your military career, but I want to bring something out here because we're going to tap into it as we move forward and hear your story and you guys building your business on Amazon. But this was no common and ordinary military stint. Guys, and Uzi's kind of a humble sort of guy, so I'm prying this out of him. I'm backing him in a corner and making him tell it. But he actually had an extraordinary military opportunity. And Uzi, I want you to tell the people about that opportunity.
Right. So I guess it all starts kind of backwards tracking in high school, where, I served in a lot of leadership positions. And one of my guidance counselors was kind of just like, all right, what do you want to do for college? And I'm like, well, I kind of want to do, these certain majors. And I talked to my parents about it. And typical Asian parents, they're like, that doesn't sound like you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. So how are you going to pay for it? And then one of my guidance counselors is like, hey, check out the Army ROTC programs. And then I was like, it was in the middle of the Iraq, wars, and you just keep hearing these newsreels and everything. And I'm like, if I am going to go that route, I want to get the best training that I can.
Come on.
So when push comes to shove, I ended up going through this summer program called Boys State, run by the American Legion.
Right.
I got sent there, and I just took a risk. They were like, all right, run for any position you want. So I tried to run for governor, and I ran for governor. I won the governorship of the Boys State program, and that got me to the door.
What state was that in at that
West
time?
Virginia. West Virginia, Mountaineer Boys State. And that got me into the door of the governor. I mean, the governor, literally all of the state representatives, this is such a big program for the state that they come and talk to everyone. So that got me my nomination
Wow.
to West Point. All right.
Come on, come on. Now
And
listen,
that's how, go
listen,
ahead.
guys, I want you to hear who nominated Uzi to West Point. Okay. Uzi, fill in the gaps.
So I got my nomination from then Congresswoman Shelley Moore Capito, and now Senator Shelley Moore Capito. So funny story though, her daughter was played basketball with my older sister. So that was actually a little connection. And
right.
backwards track again, I wanted to go to the Navy at that time. And it was kind of just like this thing where they're like, hey, one of their guys on that panel was just like, I know you were kind of thinking about this route. I think you'd be perfect for West Point. So
West Point
is where I ended up going, and ended up going with 4 years.
At West Point?
2007 to 2011.
2007 to 2011 at West Point. Guys, this is no small matter. If you're not familiar with it, you have to have a sitting senator or a congressman nominate you to attend. And it's very rigorous. And this is a place where real warriors go. The other place real warriors go is Amazon Seller Tribe, of course. And so we totally relate to that warrior mentality. Now, I'm not exactly sure, fill this in for me, Uzi, how did that warrior mentality get downloaded into Rachel when she started the Amazon business? Because she is tenacious as all get out.
I guess I'll share. I wanted to backtrack to say that. So when we moved to Fort Worth, for the job, the job, it was like a capital buyout. Anyway, they laid off everybody. So I was in bed and I was praying like, Lord, what am I going to do? And my friend was Singapore, just texted me and like, hey, how are you doing? I was like, well, I'm thinking about work. And he said, go and read about Amazon. And so I bought a $5 book, and then I joined free group, and then I paid for like a couple $100 course. And so then I started selling his books on the bookcase, and he was not very happy about it. So
you're like, my reading material's disappearing for some reason.
Like, why am I losing money? So in terms of the tenaciousness, it was really just a gradual thing. But maybe I can share about how I found you guys. Right. I think that I didn't give up because I had a lot of vested in. I had lost money on bad buys, so I can't quit.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, I gotta flush those bad buys out, and I gotta get to the good stuff. Right.
Yeah, and I'm also foreign, so I didn't really local experience. I actually started the nonprofit chapter of Girls in Tech in Austin and Dallas because I was like, I need to build something up here, so that I can find a job. But then it never worked out, and had kids, and like, oh, childcare is an issue. So right. It's really, I think I was just maybe stubborn or whatever the case. But I think
I like to call it tenacious.
And I would say, like, I don't know. I don't think has had as much of an imprint on Rachel as everyone thinks. This girl, so just improbability. I met her. We met in China. I decided to study Chinese. I was there for 2 weeks. She was there for 2 weeks, and we met, and we ended up having a relationship. And literally, that was God, putting her in my life. But this girl would do like marathons, and would travel to China, and like travel in random ridiculous places by herself. So she's always had that adventurous spirit, and so the tenaciousness, I think, it's probably what drew me to her more than anything, that we're kindred, because ever since we had a relationship, it's always been a good partnership, right? I'm lacking, I'm slacking, she picks me up, she's feeling bad, I pick her up. So I think that has been the biggest part of the partnership, is that and that's an Army thing too. When your buddy next to you is feeling down, you got to pick them up, and they'll be there for you when you're in the same position. So I think that's kind of tying back to the question there.
Do you find that mentality then also appears in Amazon Seller Tribe? Do you think that's what kind of drew you and connected you there? Was that same kind of mentality?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Rachel's been leading the show on the Amazon side. And yeah, we did have a couple of years. I've kind of been doing corporate full time, and we've been trying to reinvest. And you guys have had the biggest impact in our business. Because other groups, you just hear the chatter, people will get
Right.
roadblock. Hey, I have this problem. And then you read the feed and people are like, oh, that's really bad. Like, you
Right.
better,
Or
we don't even think about
up,
buying that
you don't want
product.
to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you guys, an obstacle comes in place, you just figure it out. You go through it, you go through the obstacle, you share your notes with everyone else. And that's been the best thing about Tribe for us, is that it's been a very positive, but it's very actionable. And it's good to see other people just fighting through problems instead of go to another group and you just see roadblocks put up and people mentally putting roadblocks there. You don't need that in your life when you're trying to solve something as hard as starting a business and running a business. So
that's right.
That's definitely the warrior aspect of it.
That is, and that's also that you used that line earlier before we went live. You said adjust and adapt. Use that. Okay, we're adapting. Now you showed your adaptability when you're heading out the door to have a baby, and all of a sudden the baby wants to come in the garage. So that's you got to be very adaptable right there. Yeah. So in Amazon selling, a lot of people they roadblock themselves because they won't adapt. Mm-hmm. They can't adapt, and really, Amazon changes frequently. There's some things we don't like that they change. We have no control over it. And you'll see in Amazon Seller Tribe, just to brag on the tribe a little bit, is we don't get off into the weeds about things we can't change.
Absolutely.
We could crab and gripe all day long about it, but it benefits no one and it moves no one forward. Gary and I constantly have in our minds as we're looking at the thread, even as people are posting, does this move sellers forward? Does this move sellers forward? Does this help them solve a problem or accomplish their goal? And there are times, we've gone in there and just deleted something because, okay, fine, it was something, but it didn't move anybody forward.
Right.
And that's really what we have to do, because you guys are constantly doing that within your own hearts, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes baby doesn't sleep really good and you still get up and go sourcing.
Yeah.
Right, Rachel?
Yeah.
I know this. Sometimes baby's crabby in the store and you're checking out, but you're still in the store checking out, right? You just adjust and adapt.
I think it's what we learn in coaching about their mindset, because if you're negative, then you're going to complain instead of thinking about how can we solve it. So like, for example, our prep areas in our living room, and we've gone through like 6 iterations since Tribe 4. And I posted a picture side by side of our sales. After that night, that was Black Friday. I was like, we need to relook the whole thing, and we just pull everything out and we redid the system. We bought more racks and all that stuff. So really it's about what you guys have taught us, really to help us to do it in the right manner, not to complain, but to get help, but then also be open to change, but also plan ahead, because a lot of things that you talk about is about sowing so they can reap for the future. So
that's right.
Trying to do.
That's right. Well, Gary does an excellent job in the tribe coaching. I mean, I don't need to convince you guys of that. You've been through it and you know that. And that really is his goal, is to help people learn that adaptability factor that is often so missing with people who come from workaday worlds where they're not the problem solver. They're just the guy that does that task. And when you build a business anywhere, much less on Amazon, you are the problem solver. And people who learn how to solve problems quickly and efficiently will always grow in their business. Now, you could have taken those bad buys you made, Rachel, which probably at the time you thought were good buys. And a lot of us have made those kind of buys. We're like, everything looks good. And then it tanks. For some reason, something happens, something changes, and now it's a bad buy. but it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad entrepreneur. You just got to flush that and go to the next one. See what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
that's what people miss. And that's why in tribe coaching, Gary hits on the mentality you have to have so much, because we start seeing people's minds and hearts and will. You know, how many times, Susie, when you were in West Point, did you just have to go on sheer will?
Yeah.
Just the will to do it. And Rachel,
Absolutely.
you too, you've seen that. And you guys connected because of that. You guys have that tenacious will to move forward. So you're building your Amazon business. And this year, you have achieved a really, really nice selling level. And it's probably already past that, already changed by now. And you're welcome to tell me what that is, or let's rejoice over the selling level, because we have these, we have the lanyards and that sort of thing that we did at the conference. We don't have them available now because they all disappeared after the conference, but we do have one gold lanyard that's floating around out there. But you achieved what, let's see, we had the $50,000 level, the $100,000 level, then it goes up to the next level. And it just gets so exciting when you see those selling levels achieved. When you reached your first $5,000 month, when you reached your first $10,000 month, when you start seeing those selling levels compound. And so if you will, I want you to share what you have achieved while carrying 3 babies in your arms. And we want to rejoice and celebrate that with you tonight.
We hit 250,000 for the year a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
But that's with him on board with Tribe 3, Tribe 4, War Room, and everybody that has, commented in the group. So it's a group effort, really.
250K.
Woohoo!
Yay, and the crowd goes wild and the confetti falls and the balloons fall and the applause. Guys, you have a real business now. You can say, okay, some people just say, well, I sell stuff on Amazon. You can say, I run a business on Amazon. That's what you can say. When you reach these kinds of selling levels, now all of a sudden things will grow very quickly, multiply exponentially. It won't be 2 plus 2, it'll be 2 times 2 times 2 times 4 times 6 times 8, and it just grows exponentially now because you have your systems set in place. You've also learned what not to do, and hopefully you've learned a little bit more about what to do.
I think Rachel said that, we were talking, I think we were doing like a side-by-side with a fellow tribe member or another Amazon seller. And Rachel was like, I think this is like literally the first year where, I fully understand everything that I need to do. It's just now a matter of how do we put these systems in place? How do we outsource? But she, it took, just like Moses, it took time in the wilderness to season the people to get them ready for Israel, right? But for us, I think that's been our story, is that God constantly providing, but we've also been trying to set the conditions for success. I just transitioned out of my job after 4 years, but this is after buying this place, so we don't have to pay for a mortgage anymore. That's after saving like 60% of the income for a year so that we can have enough runway to make this business happen. Because you have to adjust the risk with 3 kids. Before I can do stuff like I can jump out of planes, I can go to different schools, I can go to Afghanistan, because that was just me and a small family. Now it's like 3 kids. You got to think it's not just about you anymore. And you have to set the conditions for success so that you can handicap the risk, if you will, and get to the point where maybe next year we'll be doing $1 million.
There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, that's not even an if. you will absolutely, this time next year, you will absolutely be wearing gold lanyards. There's no doubt in my mind, because you have said exactly what it takes. I mean, you really have articulated the formula. And I love how you said, give yourself enough runway. Some people will short string themselves because they end up eating their seed. You know what I'm saying? And you've got to be buying product, right? And
Yep.
you got to be buying product, and you got to be shipping product in there. You got to be tending to your repricer. You got to be watching the back end of your system. And then as quickly as possible, you've got to be replacing yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah,
as soon as you start doing that, as soon as you start replacing yourself, you buy back your time.
Mm-hmm. And even then, we're just always trying to build, just more systems and kind of diversify. So it's just like, what skills can I bring to this situation that can serve us and help us to kind of achieve the sustainability aspect, like there's a grind to get to that point. And then, we've had the partnership to find the balance to help us like think about things. I think a lot. I don't want anyone to get any like skewed picture of how this works. Rachel is the bull in the china shop. She goes in and just starts getting stuff done. It's not pretty. Me, I'm just like, I'm thinking, I'm like, how do I direct this energy in the right direction? How do I put the parameters around it so it's pushed, all that energy is pushed in a good direction. So that's how our family works. I don't want anyone to think that I'm just this big army guy, because she's really the bull in the china shop and not me.
She's really the army guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to go to West Point.
I just got to get.
Oh, that's awesome. So now my understanding from what you said, you transitioned out of your day-to-day job now, and you two are full on now.
Yeah.
Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay. There is no doubt in my mind you'll have a gold lanyard around your neck this time next year. You just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep growing the way you're growing in your understanding of how to manage a business. And we've got some great things coming up in the next tribe coaching round. And we've got some really great things coming up, really super stuff. And I always get so excited about it because we get to create so much, because you guys give us this great raw material of yourselves, these burgeoning, growing entrepreneurs. And then we get to create something that really will move you forward. I have no doubt. Dan Wentworth, if you're on right now, I want you to give a shout out to Uzi and Rachel, because they're going to be gold lanyard sellers. I don't know if Gary feels well enough to be on now tonight, but Gary, if you're on, I know you got these guys. You got these guys right in your line of sight, because this is the kind of people that we know are tribe to the bone, warriors to the bone. We named it Amazon Seller Tribe because of my Cherokee heritage, my people's heritage. Just not quitting, and you guys know about not quitting for a lot of reasons. And wow, I sure didn't know the part about Rachel giving birth in the garage. So now, I had esteem
this is like
for
a recording,
Rachel.
so it's recorded for posterity now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I have esteem for Rachel that was like this, well, this. But then you said that, and my esteem, ladies, if you're out there, you know what I'm talking about. Our esteem for Rachel just went way up here, didn't it?
Yeah. The third child was a home birth as well, but it was planned.
A little more control.
A little more controlled, yeah. But yeah, she's always been a tough cookie. Even when she was pregnant with our second child, I just remember vividly. That was the time I was getting out of the Army, and we went to a vacation in the Alps. And she was walking up the Alps 7 months pregnant, just like trucking along, following me. I have pictures of it. but she's just always been, that's just Rachel. She's a beast.
The train amount was 40 euros. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna walk.
So we decided to penny pinch, and we got like an eighth of the way there, and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna make the boat back. So yeah. Perfect wife for my warrior self, right?
Come on, perfect.
Definitely an Amazonian.
Definitely an Amazon seller tribe.
Yes.
That's the heart of tribe. Don't quit, right? Hey, we can do this. We can conquer this. Yeah, there is no, I am super excited for you guys having achieved that 250,000 in sales. And now you're at the jumping off place. This is the place where you just take that one crazy leap and you'll be at 1 million and probably 1 million plus. I know that I can say this with all truth because there is an Amazon tribe member. I remember how we celebrated when they hit the 500,000. And he said, you know, if I could only hit 1 million next year, you know, I would be just so satisfied. My understanding is by the end of this month, he will have hit almost 2 million. Because from 500,000 to almost 2 million, that's what I'm talking about in exponents. It just starts taking on. You become a better buyer. Your margins get better. You become faster at all of the things that it takes to manage the back end of your systems. You become better at directing people that God gives you to employ, right? And as that happens, all of a sudden you grow into that place. Your growth has been amazing since you joined Amazon Seller Tribe. Rachel, I've loved the energy since you first began with us. You know, you're posting and like, whoop. And I do have an apology for you. And guys, most of you people, if you've been around me long enough, you know that I'm kind of a chocoholic. And Rachel was so sweet as sugar pie to bring this big bag, this gift bag with several different big bags of chocolate to the Kentucky meetup. And different people were giving us gifts, and that was so sweet. It was very nice. And Rachel brought this, and it was so sweet. And I looked in there and I said, oh my gosh, how'd you know I love chocolate? And we were really busy. And I put it under the table, you know, with the other things. And we were really busy doing the things that needed to be done. And on the way home from Kentucky, we have all the gift bags in the back. And I thought, wait a minute. She didn't bring all that chocolate for me. She brought that chocolate for me to put out all the tables so everybody could have some chocolate. And I was like, oh man. Sorry, Rachel.
That's all good. I mean, I didn't want to
I ate all the chocolate.
So like, you know, if she doesn't want to accept my gift, she can just give it up.
Nice.
I didn't.
We have a bribe list now. We got tacos and now we got chocolate.
Yeah, tacos.
It's yeah, you knew my love language and I was just so in love with you because you brought chocolate. You know, it never occurred to me to share with everybody else. Well, I will say this, Colleen's grandson was super happy with the chocolate too, because he's also a little chocoholic. But my apologies for not sharing the chocolate down there, as I think
always next time.
Oh, okay.
Always
keep that in mind. Definitely keep that in mind. Well, guys, what would you say to Amazon Seller Tribe members right now who are saying, you know, that's all well and good for them. They probably have everything pretty easy. You know, sounds like, you know, things run pretty smoothly there. And so, but they don't have the challenges I face. What would you say to them right now?
I'll go first. I think it's important to invest in having the right help, because for me to get here, it wasn't easy. I had gone through a lot of different kinds of coaching, always reading up and asking questions. That's important. Every year you gotta invest in every kind of, you know, learning, but find the right coaches, of course. And what else?
I think, yeah, finding the tribe. I mean, you know, the whole point of a tribe is that everyone kind of works together and everyone kind of lifts everyone up, because it's really hard to do something by yourself. It's hard to make gains without like a lifting partner. It's hard to, what do they say? If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. You really need to have people that are speaking the right things to you. You got to seek that wise counsel. And then, just keep trying to push through the obstacle. Even if it hurts, it sucks, just try to do 1 inch of work and then do another inch of work and then turn that inch into a foot. And then, just keep moving 1 foot in front of the other. And then you'll get to a point where you're running. So.
And then we have a lot of constraints. We don't have anyone to help us with the kids. And so we started tapping on people around us, but we also kind of make life a little simple. Like I bought a lot of frozen meals. And so it's just really knowing what to let go, what's important.
That's good. That's super good. Mm-hmm.
And then also having somebody like a partner, like for him, like it was important for me, even though he didn't know a lot about Amazon stuff, but he validated some of these things. And then we went deep into some of those products, which gave like really high profit. So even if you're not doing with your spouse, your plus one, shout out to Dina for your talk, the recording, that really helped me, because I was like, Uzi, you need to listen to this. You need to start watching webinars, even though you're still doing your full-time job and you're super stressed. You got to start watching it. But having that was, I guess I lost my train of thought.
No, I get what you're saying. Plus one is important. And for you guys, it's nice that you have your built-in plus one, your spouse right there. For me, I have my sister. I'm never alone in this journey. For others, there's tribe members who have their children, Carolyn and her son Griffey, and Laura Rhea and her son Jason are working in the business together. Plus ones are super important. And you know what? It's okay to have plus threes.
Yeah, plus fours. Plus fours. Yeah, even if it's, someone I know.
A little one that doesn't talk very much, but says syllables. Right, baby? Right, baby? You can
little bursts of joy give you the energy, But even with the other sellers in the area, Rachel's really just been, I know, for as long as Rachel's been doing Amazon, Glenn and Andrew and that whole team, they've just always been meeting up. Yeah, always kind of, trading ideas.
They were the ones that told me about you guys.
Oh, cool. Like, okay.
Glenn was like, I'm going to go to the Branson conference. I was like, whatever. Like, what's the Branson conference? And then Andrew told me to join, but I didn't join because I was like, inertia. And I'm like, I don't know who these people are. Networking is important.
Well, it turns out we have Glenn and Andrew to thank for you guys. And I Glenn, if you're hearing this, Andrew, if you're hearing this, thank you very much, because you brought us some really super fine folks. I'm super excited about the selling level that you have achieved. I know that you have what it takes to build $1 million business. I really do. And then it will just go crazy from there if you want it to, if that's what you want to do. And you've already done the plowing, the hard stuff. You've already broken up new ground. And that's the hard part. Sometimes the hard part is, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. And as you're doing it, you begin to correct your direction. You begin to correct your vision. And some people will sit on the sideline and go, until I have this whole thing figured out, I'm not going to do anything. And it's almost always those kinds of people who never, ever, ever do anything. They just
sometimes you just got to get your hands messy. If you're feeling that inertia, you just got to get messy.
You just got to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you know what? When I started having children, I didn't have parenting figured out. I sure didn't.
Yeah.
You just go, and then as you go, you learn. As an Amazon seller, as you go, you learn. And you guys are great students, great warriors in Amazon Seller Tribe. And I appreciate you sharing this time with me tonight. I know you got babies to put to bed, so I'm going to let you go hug and kiss on story time babies. And I look forward to watching you hit that next selling level and then the next one. So let's see, we have purple lanyard, which is the 500K, silver lanyard, which is the 750K, and the coveted gold lanyard, which is the 1 mil. And after that, we just start hanging more gold lanyards around you until
So
you
Dan would be like,
yeah. Then you come in just sort of like, you know, Carol and Jonathan and others just clanking, you know, you just come in clanking when people see you at the tribe events. So thank you for the time you spent with me today. You've had some valuable things to say, and I know Amazon Seller Tribe members have enjoyed this. So
Thank you.
thank you.
all right.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.